When the village talks about communication with residents, it's usually us trying to get a message out to you. But we have now launched the Addison Connect mobile app, which is a new way of you communicating with us. I'm here with Public Works Director Rick Federighi, and we're going to be talking about how to utilize this app and its importance in letting us know about things going on in the village. Rick, I guess the first thing that we should emphasize, of course, is this is not a tool for letting us know that there's an emergency of any kind.
Correct, right, Dory. If there's something that is significant, like a water main break that's running down the street, heavy flow, other types of emergency, they should either go through our police non-emergency line, was probably the best way. If you call Public Works off hours, they'll give you that number, or 911 for a true emergency, of course. But for other types of situations and issues that a resident see throughout the day, throughout the course of them walking outside, driving, anything that they see, this is a great way to report problems or issues within the village of Addison.
Now, you guys are out on the street all day, but they obviously can't see everything. And you know, when residents come across things in the past, they may have made it mental note, oh, I'll have to call the village and let them know that I saw X or I saw this. And then you tend to forget about it. This is a way to, when you're on the scene of whatever you see, to let us know that there's an issue, right?
Right, and actually what's great about it too is that we capture all the details too, because like you said, if it's a couple days later, you remember to call, then you're trying to remember the intersection or the exact location and what you saw. This will capture all the details all at once on the mobile app and gives us a lot of information to send out the proper resources and the right people to the problem.
Well, there's dozens of things that a resident could potentially report to the village, but we're going to give an example today. I walk out in my front yard and it's really damp around this fire hydrant, so I'm presuming that this fire hydrant is leaking. So I pull out my trusty Addison Connect app, and what do I do?
Okay, yeah, in a situation like this where you see damp ground, there's some staining on the pavement, it's been dry for a while, so obviously there's probably an issue with the hydrant. So when you go on to the Addison Connect app, which can be again on your phone or on your iPad, the very first thing you'll see is to create a request. This is what we want to do today. So when you tap on that, the very first thing it says, would you like to continue with a photo, without a photo? But in this case, I think it would help, and it actually does help us a lot to capture a photo.
Now tell me why. Why would it be important for you guys to see that photo of an issue?
Well, primarily because it helps us prioritize what the situation is, how quickly we have to get to it. In some cases like this, a slow leak that's maybe been occurring for a few weeks, not a super high priority, but it is a priority versus other things. It also tells us what kinds of equipment we might need and things like that. So a picture is great, gives us the exact location, even though it is collected on the GPS on your phone. It still is very helpful us to have that snapshot. If you can't get it or you're driving and aren't going to stop and get out, you know, that's fine. We understand that, and there's a way then to of course submit it without the photo.
I'm presuming for something like a pothole, especially. You know, if someone just says a pothole, that could be something as big as my fist or something I'm going to lose half my car.
Exactly. That we need to come out right away, or even maybe barricade.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to create with a photo.
Okay. Yes. So we're
I'll
going
let you take over there.
Continue. Create a photo. So it will create one. Hit create image or photo. You can also do video. In some cases, like a larger leak that's running down the street, you could shoot a video. There's lots of other issues on here, so it could be even that there's a disturbance, maybe something related to one of our other divisions where a video would be more helpful. But in this case, we'll take a photograph.
Okay, I'll let you take that over.
Okay. It's asking if we'd like to access the camera to allow Addison Connect to access it. And so now we have a live picture. So with that, I can turn the camera over to where we have the area, and the area that's stained here on the pavement, and take a picture of the hydrant. So it's uploading that picture. It asks if we want to use this photo or retake another one in case there's a mistake, but I will click to use this photo. It's also finding us, you can see, on a GIS map location. So it's searching for our exact location. It can just, we can either enter an address or just click next and it'll choose the point that's showing up on the map. And that's what we'll do. There's no reason for us to need to enter the address.
And that's got to be extremely useful for your crews like you said, oh, I think I saw it and I was going by this intersection, to know exactly where the issue is, it's got to be huge for you.
Correct. In fact, when you mention intersections, because sometimes that's a problem where there's not an exact address. You've got a couple streets coming in. It might be the southwest corner, and people are describing it sometimes. So by taking the GPS location, it's exact. You don't have to worry about getting an address. But if you're doing this at a later time, you would then enter, well, I was at the corner of School and Diversity, and you could enter that in. You could type that in.
Okay.
So now the very first thing that pops up is to select a report type. And there's a little toggle. These are all pre-selections that you choose from. And when it comes up, as you know from having an iPad or other device, then you have this that you can roll and you can select. And you can see many of the different issues that we have in here. Oh, there's probably 20 or 30 different of our most frequent issues. If it doesn't fit, you can always select other, but in this case, I think we can go down to our water service. And when we click on the water service, we then select done. So now in this particular one, it has another tier of selections. So what's come up now is water service issues. So I'm going to click on that. We've got the B-box, fire hydrant, leak, meter, pressure, low pressure in our house. We need requesting service, or even something's water, we think there's a taste or odor issue. But in this case, we're going to select leak, would be the most appropriate. So I've selected leak, and again, I press done. So now there's actually a third tier in this particular issue. And for leak issue, we can select either that it's a hydrant, a water main, or our own private service that comes up to our house. So of course, in this particular case, we're going to select hydrant.
Now that's important. I mean, people may wonder why there are so many menus that they're going through here, but depending on the issue, it's a different crew that comes out to handle it. And when these reports, we're going to take a look at this in a little while, but when these reports go in, they're going directly to the people that are handling the problem. This isn't going to some general email box somewhere in Village Hall where it's going to be delegated. This is going right to you guys.
Correct. This is perfect because then this gets it right down to the level of that particular supervisor. And like you said, it might even be in between some of the other steps. It might get routed to our water division. Sometimes it might go to our environmental division. It just depends on the particular case. So this, when it's all set up, we'll go right to the particular person that's in charge, but then also send notifications to our office staff and to myself and administration and the assistant foreman in case the foreman is off for whatever reason. So a number of people will all get this request when it goes through. But the primary person is that you now are talking right to the supervisor of that division.
Great. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So now you can fill out your personal information and type in your name. I can add email or telephone. You don't have to submit that, but you can if you want. It does also ask for a narrative description. So in this case, it's pretty self-explanatory, but I will put leaking hydrant. You could enter other information on there that might be pertinent to us coming out. That you could think of, maybe that it just saw today, or maybe it's been like this for a week. We think there's an issue. Things like that could also help us.
Okay.
Now let's see if I have all the information on here. So it's processing the work ticket now and putting it into the system, including it sent that photo that we originally took. So it gives you a little note. Thank you, your report's been submitted. Thank you for helping to make Addison a better place. So just click OK, and that's it. And you can see actually where it popped up on the map, and that there's a water service issue.
Okay, well, we're going to take a look inside Public Works. Once this report has been sent from the resident, what happens to it? Well, we have made our submittal here of our leaky fire hydrant from School Street. And Rick, tell us what happens now, presuming you were not the person who put this in. Let's say I did. What would happen on your end now?
Okay, so the software, it then sends out an email notification to everyone that is related to that water service request. And as we said out in the field, the primary person that it's going to is the supervisor of the water division. So they get that service request. But it also copies everyone here in our office. It copies the backup foreman in case that person is off or away or at other duties during the day. And then also to myself and then the superintendent of public works.
Okay.
More just the administrative side, just for tracking tracking and making sure that they are followed through. We can kind of see how many we're getting and where people are being sent off to throughout the day then. So when the ticket comes up, and here's the one for water service created today. And if we click, then we open up the ticket. Now we can do a little bit more of the managing. So the first person that this is dedicated to is the supervisor of that division.
Okay.
And for our water division is Jim Russo. So Jim, right now, it's marked that it's received. He sees that there's a leak at the hydrant, so that should be something pretty easy to fix. He can then either call or email to one of our people out in the field, who some of our field people do also have tablets as well, so he can send the ticket right to them directly if they've not already received it. Try clicking on that and see if it updates that.
Yep, in process.
Okay, so now the status says that it's in process on the bottom of the ticket.
And then there's the comments that you
And
put
really
in.
just a whole itinerary then of what's happened when the call was made, when we first responded that we're going to work on it.
Thank you very much, Rick. We've been talking with Rick Federighi at Public Works. And of course, there are other departments that get requests through Addison Connect, and we're going to take a look at some of the issues that they're dealing with as well. Another one of our departments that uses Addison Connect quite a bit is, of course, the Addison Police Department. I'm here with Deputy Chief Brian Goss and Andrea Lieberens. They are the people that get the reports once residents have made them. And Brian, before we go into how this is affecting your department, let's first emphasize when it's appropriate for residents to utilize this to communicate with the police department, and more importantly, when it's not.
Absolutely. This is used for a variety of non-in-progress or non-emergency related calls. If it's an emergency or if it's something that's in progress, you should absolutely call the police 911.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the various areas that of the mobile app that the reports come to the police department. What kinds of things?
Sure. You can use it to report anything from an abandoned motor vehicle, an abandoned bicycle, a animal problem, and parking complaints.
Okay, so these are all the kinds of things that someone would dial the non-emergency number as opposed to 911.
Correct.
Okay, so we're going to take a look at a sample report, and this is an actual report that the department has received?
Yes, from the City Source app, someone notified us about an animal complaint.
Okay, so Andrea, lead us through this as though you've just received this report. You are the primary person it comes to, but who else in the department would be notified of these things?
Deputy Chief Goss is notified as well, and I think it's just the two of us in our police department.
Okay, and why is that useful that it's more than one person?
Well, in case I'm not here one day, or Deputy Chief Goss isn't here for a day, or, just we can kind of bounce things off each other and, make sure we're getting the correct information.
Okay, so lead us through this report.
So this report comes in, and I want to read what the person is reporting. So they're saying, right here is a description. So at 44 Valerie, there is a duck wandering the front yards, and he won't fly away. There is something around its neck. Okay, so he also, this is interesting because he made a correction. He corrected the address. So it's 44 Maryland. So I already went in and I changed the status to received. It was submitted. I changed it to received. And then we're going to assign a community service officer to the case because they handle our animal complaints. So I wrote a note, a public comment, so the person can see it as well. And it says, we will assign a community service officer to respond to 44 Maryland, which is the new address he updated, to check on the duck. So now we did do that. And our CSO spoke to the owner, and she is keeping it as a pet. And the thing that's around his neck, there's something around his neck, is a collar, like a dog. So it's her pet. And so our CSO informed her that that's not allowed in Addison. She can't keep a duck as a pet. So we're going to be in contact with her to make sure that things are taken care of. Okay. So, but it was a concerned citizen. He thought this was some duck, wild duck, and had something around its neck, and maybe it was hurt. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Now, Brian, how quickly typically are these kinds of things addressed when someone makes a report through the app?
Depending on when they come in, this one, when it came in, it was handled right away. She contacted the community service officer. The community service officer went out there, and it was handled in a relatively short period of time.
Okay. And why do you find it useful, the part of the app where you can communicate back to the resident?
Everybody loves follow-up. Everybody loves to know that they were heard and their problem is being taken care of and that we're looking into it.
And does this have any other capabilities that you're either using or plan to use as far as tracking things in town?
Definitely, as we get more use of the app, we'll be looking into follow-up and seeing if there's, especially with like parking complaints and things of that nature, are we having a problem in certain areas over other areas, and we can follow up and see if there's a solution to the problem.
Mm-hmm. Now, have you been receiving many reports? I know that the app hasn't been out there that long yet. A lot of our residents aren't even aware of it yet, but have you seen this being utilized?
For how new it is, yeah, I think we've been getting quite a few uses.
That's great. Now, one of the choices in that menu is graffiti removal, and I thought that was interesting because that's something that more than one department is going to be involved in. Andrea, when you receive one of those types of reports, I don't know if you've gotten any yet, what would be the workflow in that?
I would check the address, see if it's a rental property or not. Then we would need to let community development know. We'd also, at the same time, though, get an officer out there to make a report with the owner of the property, take a picture of it, and then we would also get Public Works involved because they need to remove it, possibly, depending on what type of surface it's on. So, yeah, there's quite a few departments involved in a graffiti incident.
Okay. Brian, how much do you think that residents need to be aware of this? Is this something that you guys prefer, that you're receiving this just as far as the workflow, or is calling things in, still the preferred method? What do you think?
Well, I think it's your choice, whatever you feel comfortable with. Some people are very comfortable with new technology, and if you are, use this. It frees up our non-emergency phone calls for other things that can take place, and it's pretty simple to use.
Well, thank you very much, both of you. And the last department that we'll be talking with that uses the Addison Connect app through the Village of Addison is the Community Development Department. We'll visit them next. The final department that uses the Addison Connect mobile app quite a bit is our Community Development Department. And they are probably the best example of the kinds of things that you might see when you're just going about your business in town and you say, gee, I wonder if I should tell the village about this. I'm here with Mike Crandall from Community Development, and Mike, I'm guessing they should tell the village just in case.
They definitely should tell the village. And there's different ways that they can do this story. They can either contact our Village Hall Community Development Department and file a service request, or with this new mobile app that we have, they can actually submit a service request through their mobile device. Mm-hmm.
Now, what kinds of issues do you get these kind of reports on, either by the phone or in the mobile app? What kinds of things are you looking for?
Community development mainly gets service requests with regards to property maintenance violations or building code violations. Mm-hmm. Property maintenance violations can be tall grass, garbage that's out, people that might be not maintaining their property in terms of painting or just doing general property maintenance around their house. Mm-hmm. Building code violations could be anything from a permit that the village has issued. Maybe the contractor is not taking care of the streets after they've maybe excavated a foundation, or they're not completed with the work. In other words, it's just at a standstill. The permit's been issued, but we're really not doing anything, and the building doesn't look good.
Okay, Mike, we're in an area that is between business and residential, not looking real great. I'm guessing this is the kind of issue that you'd like to hear about.
Yeah, we certainly would. And if a resident sees something like this, what we want to do is they can either contact us or they can go right to their mobile device, download the app if they haven't done that already, and Addison Connect is the actual app. All you have to do is press the Create a Request button, and then it will prompt you to choose the photo with a video or audio, or browse photos, or continue without a photo or video. In this case, we want to go ahead and create the photo.
Now, why is that information important to you?
By selecting that, this will give our department a better understanding of what we're actually going to be dealing with, the severity of the violation. Gives the inspector a better understanding of what he's seeing.
Okay.
So we go ahead and create that, create image or photo, and now you can see that it goes to your camera on your mobile device. From there, we can go ahead and film the code violation, take the picture, and then it's going to prompt you to use the photo if you're happy with the photo that you took. So we'll go ahead and do that. Use photo. So now you can see that it's uploading the photo into the system. And the GPS system on here is actually trying to pinpoint the location of where we're at. So all we have to
And
simply...
for something like this, that's got to be important. I mean, we're kind of, like I said, between business and residential. It would be really hard for a resident to say exactly where they saw this.
That's right. And in some buildings, they may not have an address, or some properties may not have a building, so there isn't an address. So the nice thing about this app, it has a built-in GPS system, so it'll kind of identify what the address actually is, or it'll give you the nearest address that's next to it.
And it's actually showing the coordinates there as well.
It does.
So.
It shows the coordinates on the app. So once that's done, all you have to simply do is press next. And now it's loading that information into the app. From there, it's going to have you select a report type. So if you push the button for that, it's going to give you a variety of different things to choose from. So we're going to want to choose what best relates to the code violation here. This would be considered a building code enforcement issue. So we're going to touch that, hit done, and it prompts it in there. The next step is kind of to describe what the actual problem is. So in addition to the picture, the user has the ability to provide more descriptive information, which is really valuable to our department in dealing with these service requests. So it's just a matter of touching the description box, and you can see that your mobile device will come up with a keyboard that you can go ahead and type the description in.
Okay. Now, when you get this information, you're going to receive the person's email address and all that kind of information. Is that something that, let's say this is your neighbor, is your neighbor going to know that you're the one who made this violation report?
Not necessarily. When this comes in, the information that's requested off the app is really just information so our department can communicate with the person who's noting the violations. In other words, we can report back what our findings are, if the violations are valid, and what we're doing about it.
Okay, but like I said, they're not necessarily, especially if it's more of a residential report, you don't necessarily want to be known as the snitch in the neighborhood.
Correct.
So that information is used for you to communicate with the person, but not necessarily that they're going to know.
That's right. And if you're writing into the description what the problems are, you can actually type in there that you would wish to remain anonymous. That way, when we do go to the property owner and let them know that we received a service request violation, and then maybe they've asked, well, who complained about it? We can just say, well, the person wished to be anonymous, so we're not going to share that information.
Okay. And then when you receive these reports, tell me a little bit about behind the scenes, what happens then?
Okay. As soon as the request is submitted, probably within 2 or 3 minutes, our department will receive an email. And the person who receives that email is a designated clerk in our office. That person is responsible to go ahead and distribute the service request to the community development inspector that will be assigned to the project. So it's a very fast way of doing this, probably much quicker than calling us in. It's in the email, it's uploaded into the system, it's managed, it's maintained, and it's assigned a time frame. It's distributed to the inspector, and then the inspector will go out, take a look at the violations and validate that it is in fact a violation. If it is, then that inspector will basically make contact with the owner. We will have those records. We can do title searches if they're vacant properties. If it's a residence, we can knock on the door, we can send out a letter. There's all different ways that we can make communication with the owner of the property. And once that happens, we'll give a time frame for compliance.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for being with us, Mike. We've been talking with Community Development, Public Works, and the Police Department about the new Addison Connect mobile app. Remember that app is available free through Google Play, through the iTunes App Store. So whatever kind of smartphone you have, we would encourage you to get that on your phone now. You may never use it, but just to have it available, if you see something that you're not quite sure that the village should know about it, is a great tool for communicating with us and letting us know. You can be our eyes and ears out in the village of Addison. Thanks a lot for being with us.